Hello there, welcome to Herman Manyora's YouTube this fine Sunday. I'm excited that you've joined us once again for political conversations that are simple, truthful, unbiased, and with Professor Herman Manyora, who puts them across in a hard-hitting way, always on his phone. Sir, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
What are you doing on your phone while we're recording?
Trying to reach friends.
Yeah?
Trying to get friends.
Are we going to shoot?
Know that I've woken up well. We are shooting right here. Can you continue?
Conversation for today. First thing you said about Winnie Odinga, you said Raila was wrong on her. Then you revised, said thinking with the information you then had, yes, she's the right person for the job. She has won. She's going to Iyala.
Yes.
Was this a good decision after looking at everything that has gone through, and what do you make of the list? Some said that Ruto took names that were tried to dictate names in UDA without going through the proper way in the nomination process. What do you make of the list?
You know this. Let us just say
his nomination.
Let's say this. It's not easy to shed off your past.
Yeah.
We are more KANU than we want to admit. Because we drank from the cup of KANU until we became KANU itself. Our thinking is still basically KANU.
How so?
We are wired in a KANU way.
How so?
We are Jomo Kenyatta and we are Daniel Amo. We may try to run away from it. But if you look at our leaders, that idea that only the leader decides, which is very KANU-ish, is still part of us, all of us. So I would not blame Ruto if he wants to dictate to the people of Kenya Kwanza who they send to Iyala.
Because he endorsed 5 of them.
Yeah, I would not blame anybody if Raila has a final say of who goes to Iyala. We are still KANU. Let's admit it.
So are you saying that dictatorship is not ending anytime soon?
We have not shed off dictatorship in some way, some form or the other.
No, that's actually...
You know, it becomes a way of looking at things that is not, you may not even know it. Our leaders may not know it that some of these things portray them in bad light. So I can always understand and forgive them. And then we don't make it better ourselves. We keep making reference. Look, Kibaki told us, for example, there is nothing you go and get from our president at Maendeleo, at Awanda Bridge. No, he told us. How? Mimi kama Kibaki, how do I give you a bridge? How do I give you money? How do I give you a project? These things are planned for. They are budgeted for. But you see, we are going back there.
So everyone is trying to please the president.
Rise, we want this. Oh, Ruto, we want this. No, then Ruto, akaona hiyo mwanya akapitia. Everywhere he went, he said, this road will pass. This road, the one in my place from Gisambai to where? You know, it's not true.
But that's how you won the presidency, according to you?
It contributed in a large measure. Many people believe. He came to my place, said, Gisambai, Shamagogo Road. What role did he play? Zero. Because these things are budgeted for. They appear in development plans. You may push, but pushing is not through the president. If it's a Kenya Road project, you do from. If it's a Kera project in electricity, you know where to go. It's not the president.
Is it the fault of the president?
No.
Or is it the fault of
KANU? It is the KANU blood flowing in us.
Us or the
all
leaders?
All of us. And Moi said 100 years. In fact, he was wrong.
Yeah.
250 years.
For what?
KANU blood is flowing in us. It is what we use to see things. It's what we use to assess things. KANU. The one party dictatorship.
Does this mean
is still with us?
You know, when we had this conversation of Winnie Odinga, it seemed like Parliament will not let her pass, and then now we see her passing. Does this mean that Raila's influence is still
of course,
within the members of Parliament, both sides of the aisle?
How can he? You know, people may make noise and lie to you that they are Kenya Kwanza, they are Ruto, Raila is this, but if Raila calls one of them, that's my daughter. Kwisha!
Up to now.
Oh,
even though he's not president.
Raila has a lot of influence in this country, my friend. A phone call from Raila can work magic for you if he really wants you to get something.
So the same thing with Kennedy Kalonzo? Also saying...
Yeah, Kalonzo also. You know, look at the number of votes that guy got.
Yeah.
Does he deserve those votes? Don't you see that's a product of serious lobbying?
Yeah.
Don't you see Kalonzo must have been telling the Kenya Kwanza people, mnakumbuka ile kitu ya speaker.
217 votes.
Yeah, ile kitu ya speaker. Si mimi niliwachewe Tangulo. I know he may still have beaten me. Yeah. But at least I was gentleman enough to pull out.
Okay.
Now, this is the time to remember my son. It doesn't strike you as odd that Kennedy Kalonzo, is it Kennedy who?
Kalonzo.
Can he get those number of votes? Number one on the list. Number one in Senate, number one in National Assembly. Beating people with many, many votes.
The influence is still there.
Yes.
Our conversation for today, I wanted us to talk about the making of a dictator, coming from Martha Karua, saying when you look at the high-profile cases that have gone through the courts and some of them being released, she says, we're looking at a president who's likely to become a dictator and our institutions are not working as they should be working. Do you find some truth in Martha Karua's statement and allegations?
You know, I've said this repeatedly. Politics is about perceptions. The perception right now, across the country, it may not be shared by everybody, but it is there and it is strong. Is that Ruto is tending towards being a dictator. That's the perception. That he seems to have his way with the judiciary. What he says they do. You know, I'm saying perception. I know people jump quickly, but I'm saying that is a perception. So what Martha Karua is saying, first, is held as a matter of perception in the country. Secondly, if you look at dictators in the world, there are certain obvious things you can see, how they began. And some people are beginning to say some of those things seem to be going on right now in the country.
You know, you had this conversation with Okinyi about Rigathi Gachagua's case being withdrawn. Rigathi said some of these officers in the DCI were being told to put cases on them. What, perception-wise, do you think it's helping them when he comes out and says it's because of these police officers that were being forced to put cases on our side? Or are we looking at a dictator's mother? I
used a bad word and people are telling me to stop using this word, so I will not use it. But it is that word. But let me not pronounce it. If people from DCI, if the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, or DPP, DCI, and the rest of these agencies were actually directed to do wrong things, to frame Rigathi Gachagua and others, and you want to use them to remove the cases and they continue prosecuting other Kenyans. I don't want to use that word again.
Use it. Let me
very bad.
Let me not censor you today.
No,
just use the word.
Not use it. Because it's in reference to people even like the president. It's very bad. The first thing they should go. The first thing to do is not remove the cases against Gachagua or anybody else for that matter. Is for these guys who are used, who are directed to do wrong things, to go first. We must put everything on hold. There's no emergency. Gachagua is a free man.
Okay.
He's not a poor man. His money in the 200 million is nothing to him. So there's nothing, there's no emergency as far as Rigathi Gachagua is concerned. He's not being taken to jail. The first thing we would do, if that is true, is to remove those guys from office.
Removed or get prosecuted, either.
Yes. You know, I'm tempted to use this word, but I don't want to use it. Then it is so bad. You say people have been used to frame people and use the same people to remove the cases against you, and you let the same people continue prosecuting other Kenyans. This word is coming. I'm holding myself.
What are we looking at?
I'll use it at least once so that I may be free.
Just you can use it if you want to.
But I'll be careful so that the reference is not on the president.
Okay.
When I'm talking about smaller people. Yes.
But I want to know, what are we looking at? If we have these officers working there, and then, as Gachagua says, they were used to frame him, does this mean that we cannot trust our institutions?
How can we trust them? In fact, if I went before these people, if I was accused, I would refuse. I would say I cannot be prosecuted with these people in office. Because I know something about law and about administration and governance. Pronouncement from the deputy president and from the president is sometimes even stronger than some laws, because it constitutes sometimes, in some instances, policy. Policy can be mere pronouncement from a high office. So if we have it on authority from the deputy president or the president, that indeed these cases were framed against them. I would not agree to be prosecuted by those people. I'll say this case of mine has to wait, and I must be free man if I'm arrested until these officers are changed.
You remind me of Raila Odinga when Ruto promised to increase the budget for the judiciary. And Raila said they have not asked for this money. Why are you increasing, their budget? It's the same Ruto wants to take hold of the judiciary. Martha Karua still says these key institutions, a dictatorship is cooking.
That's why Martha Karua is saying, you as a president, what part of the constitution gives you the power to say I'll give you 3 billion? Because it's a process. It's a budgeting process. You may suggest, because the budgeting process is a long process.
Yeah.
It doesn't start in June. It doesn't start even in April.
Yeah.
It starts around September of the previous year. So if you as the president says, I'm adding you 300, and the people you are asking are the judiciary, and the same judiciary go ahead to withdraw cases against your deputy president. So Martha Karua will be saying this looks like dictatorship.
At first,
I will not blame her.
Yeah.
I will not see the things the same way she's seeing. Me, I'm seeing them differently. I know this is how politics works. Because unlike Martha Karua, me, I want to see politics as power.
Okay.
And the power to do many things. We saw what Trump was trying to do. You can pardon your friends, even before a few hours before you leave office.
Yeah, that's what.
Once you have done that, you have done it. Nobody can undo it. The president has power of mercy. If he says no hanging, go home, nobody can return you back tomorrow. So me, I see politics as power. So what Ruto is doing to me is power. Okay, it may be raw, crude power, but it's power. To Martha Karua, she's looking at it as dictatorship. She's looking at it as the lenses of both, using both a lawyer and a politician, and a person very close to becoming president or deputy president.
Yeah.
So she's looking at it from that perspective.
So trying to oppose,
saying this man is a dictator. Raila and I could have been better president. But me, I'm looking at it in terms of just objectively, this is how power works. And this is politics.
Maybe you can tell me this, though.
The idea is, it is Kenyans who are wrong. I think it's stupid. Anybody given power will want to misuse it. Anybody. Anywhere in the world. There has never been one office bearer in the world who has not attempted to overuse, to misuse, and to abuse power.
For their own advantage.
Yes. There's never. Power is bad. I have given you the example of this king who employed somebody sitting next to him all the time, whispering to him every time, you are not a god. You are not a god. Because the temptation to believe you are a god, if you are like a president. You've seen even small people, ministers, permanent secretary, directors, to small people, principals of school. A principal walks around a school you think is, there was a vice chancellor in University of Nairobi with 4 phones, walking in the field. He kilia anakimbiziwa in the field at the Great Court. You think he's a god. Power can make people think they are gods. So what Martha Karua is saying, to me is nothing new. She's indicting the people of Kenya. That it is you who should not allow certain things to happen. And the sovereign is the people.
Maybe
all the power belong to the people of Kenya.
Is this the right time?
And they can say no. People don't know how much power they have. People have so much power. They can tell the Supreme Court, this is not what we thought about you. And the Supreme Court will listen.
Is this the right time, maybe as we're winding up, is this the right time for us to have that benevolent dictator as it's put? Because when you look at the economy, when you look at everyone doing what they want, there's some sort of lawlessness all over the world. People just do what they want. Is this a time when we have Ruto doing some things that make him seem as a dictator for the benefit?
You know, that's a very difficult question. You're asking me about it. You're being unfair to me. It's a very difficult question because
I have to make
because we are all saying we need democracy, human rights, what have you, etc., etc. But we also know 2 things. Number one, that the developed world is where it is not because it achieved things through democratic processes. Even the US did not come into existence through democratic processes. Right?
Yes.
They overthrew the King of England to take power. The Confederates were wanting to continue a certain arrangement in America. There was a civil war to create the America we have. Now people are telling us we will achieve what they achieved through war, through coercion, through physical power. We can achieve through talking. There was a man in history called Bismarck. He said the decisions of the day will not be arrived at through parliament, but through blood and iron.
Otto von Bismarck?
Otto von Bismarck.
Yes.
You know, so that's one thing. That's why it's a very difficult question.
Yes.
But we also know, number two, that it is dictators who have transformed their countries in the recent past. In 2018, Russia is fighting barefoot. 4 years later, it's a superpower. Barefoot in the Russian winter, the worst winter. Barefoot in the First World War. Stalin, superpower. Cuba, Fidel Castro. Libya, Muammar Gaddafi. And you can know, even this strong man of Turkey has turned Turkey around. We know that some form of strongman leadership is necessary to turn around a country.
So it's a very difficult...
Because these niceties of democracy, human rights, you know, in Kenya now, everybody's going to court. You appoint your PS, permanent principal secretaries, government wants to run, somebody has gone to court.
Another nomination stopped.
Everything stopped. But the government must run. I see governors. You see ministers, you are CCs, whatever. They are ministers. They are not performing. You send them home. People go to court. Everything is kept at hold. I saw in Vihiga, our budget was kept on hold. So this Hakietu sometimes, it may not help us.
It's difficult.
But it's a difficult question because the world believes we must enhance democracy, human rights, so. But we also know some things can be achieved. If Ruto was to be a good guy and he wants to do good things in this country, me, I'll give him my support even if he became a dictator.
I guess for this one, we'll have to wait and see, and maybe Ruto should hire me to remind him always that he's not a god. Till we do talk again, have yourself a lovely rest of your day. I hope you have a nice weekend.